evening we're going to be talking about soft skills for the IT professional. Can anybody out there tell me what a soft skill is?
How do you talk to people?
That's absolutely one soft skill. Let's make this easy on us. So we're going to do a little chart. Maybe if we start with hard skills, it's going to make this thing a little easier. What would be considered a hard skill?
Fixing a computer.
Fixing a computer, absolutely. A hard skill is, we have the ability to fix a computer. Anything else would be a hard skill? Anybody?
Run some cabling.
Run cabling, absolutely. Anything that falls below this, install.
Seems like anything physical.
Right. Install, exchange. It's basically the action part of our job, the end result part of our job. But alongside this, is a soft skill set. So this is what we do, and soft skills are how we do it. How do we interact with the customer? So I think somebody said out there, how we talk to a customer?
Yes.
That's certainly it, how we talk. Actually, I like to call our communication. How do we communicate? It's not misspelled. How do we communicate with a customer? Are we clear? We try to use as little technobabble as possible. We need to put it in terms that the layperson uses. I'll give you a few more soft skills unless someone has one. In that vein, can anyone think of another?
How you diffuse a tense conversation.
Absolutely. How you diffuse a tense situation. How do you handle a hot customer? Actually, we have a topic on that. Hot customer. Are you punctual? Do you show up? Do you say you're going to show up? It's critical. Time is money, and you're supposed to be there at 9, you get there at 10, you could have 100 people waiting for you. Do you do what you said you're going to do? If you said, I'm going to upgrade you to Office 2007, 6 months from now, and you upgrade them to Office 2003, you haven't delivered. So those are the soft skills that we really, really need to take into consideration, because in the business we're in, which is absolutely dependent on a technical skill set, a soft skill set is arguably more important, because that's what the customer remembers. You can tell the customer, listen, the motherboard is blue, that's why you're getting a blue screen. The customer typically, unless they're in the business, doesn't know. They're dependent on us. We're the expert. And this is a high-pressure 7x24 world, as far as we're concerned. I've taken a look at your learner profiles, and I know all of you have some field service support in your background. So you can totally identify with the high pressure. Cell phones ringing, people beeping, email devices chiming, maybe all at the same time. So what happens? What happens to you guys when that happens?
You're frustrated.
Frustrated, stressed. Jody says stressed. Anybody else?
Maybe you get short with people.
Get short-tempered, absolutely. All of the above. We start treating the customer like they don't deserve to be treated. The customer starts paying the price, and I can tell you this much, if we make the customers pay the price too often, they're not going to be customers very long. I like to think of it this way. I heard something way back in my career, and I like to think about it every time. It's the first thing I think of when I go out to resolve a problem, because it keeps me focused. When it comes to the customer, in reference to the products that we're supporting or the services we're offering, this is what I think of. We are responsible. We're absolutely responsible to make sure that we do what we said we were going to do. We need to make sure the applications run. We need to make sure the server is is going. You know, what does the word responsible mean? You know, I'm sure everyone knows the definition. Anyone want to offer their definition?
You're the, in reference to a customer, you're the one that takes care of business. You're the one they count on.
Absolutely. Now let's see what Webster has to say. Okay, responsible. There's some nice words here. This is the first thing I see, trustworthy. That's a great word. You know, are we trustworthy? You know, do our customers consider us worthy of trust? It's critical. Absolutely. We'll actually go into that topic. Accountable. You know, synonym for responsible. Are we accountable? We need to be accountable. Liable. Hopefully not legally liable, but if you're business owners, maybe you are legally liable. Make sure your errors and omissions policy is paid up. You know, and we have to remember this. It's the very essence of what we do. So what we're going to talk about this morning is, you know, I'm going to give you 5 things to remember when you're dealing with those hot customers. And I'm going to give you a bonus, 4 simple ways to diffuse any situation, tried and true over my 20-year career. Absolutely works. Getting on to it, you know, these are our 5 things. Remember, you know, we are the experts. The customer's paying us. You know, we're not paying the customer. And we're there to do the job. Communication's a two-way street. You know, I sometimes focus on the less than obvious. You know, two-way street means there are things that we say and things that we don't say. Sometimes the things that we don't say are more important. Creating a positive last impression. Again, a little contrary to what we typically hear. Usually we hear, let's create a lasting first impression. Well, I'm here to say that we better create a lasting impression, because that's what matters. And that trust of yours forever. We already talked about trust a little bit when we were defining responsible. And absolutely, when you gain their trust, paradoxically speaking, it actually lets you get away with a few mistakes. We're all human, we all make mistakes. But once you've proven yourself, you can get away with a little. Has anyone out there, you know, made a little mistake? I'm sure not many, and you know, by the fact that you had a great relationship with the customer, and you were able to slide a bit. Yeah? Can you talk about it a bit?
Yeah, I've had a customer that I had trust built with them, and I was able to put them off till the next day. Actually,
Yeah.
They knew I was going to be there, and it enabled me to come in the next day to take care of the problem.
We're going to actually talk about that. You know, when we think we don't have time, we usually do have time. And of course, those 4 magic words. You know, so far, you know, the very essence of this is what that sign says: we are responsible. You know, we're customer service agents. If you look at one of the handouts that I passed out, the 3-page, and you're going to be able to self-assess your customer service skills. It's yours to keep. You know, just something to fill out. Maybe it will raise a flag in your own personal career. All right. Remember, you are the expert. My very first instructor told me, you know, when you walk in to the customer site, you are the cavalry. They need to think everything's going to be A-OK, Dom is here. You know, if they're not thinking that, then you're not doing something right. You know, I worked with as a manager of sales once, and he told me, and I carry this with me. I was very early in this business, and he said, I was talking to the group of us. I was a service engineer at the time. He said, when our customers talk about us, I want them to have a smile on their face. You know, and that's critical. That, you know, that is actually marketing without paying for it. Whether they're talking at a bar to their business associates, or they're talking to their family or professional associates. Critical. Confidence is critical. we just covered that, you know, we can't afford to be stumbling and bumbling around in there, absolutely not. We need to, even if we don't know what we're doing, which hopefully we do, but sometimes we walk into a situation where we just don't know what's going on. We can always find the answer, but it's how, it's in the time frame where we walk on and we find the answer, how are we presenting ourselves, hopefully with confidence. You know, give assurances, and we need to let the customers know everything's gonna be all right, and everything is gonna be all right. You know, one way or another, all problems get resolved. We need to let the customers know that, because chances are they're pretty much panicked when we're going on site. Manage expectations. Once you assess and diagnose, give the customer an assessment, because their day may be planned on what you're doing. This survey may be done and they may have 500 people out of work, or at least from an email point of view, it's exchanged. You need to let them know what's happening and give them your best professional judgment as to how long it's going to take. You know, there's nothing worse than a customer thinking you're going to wrap up in 20 minutes and you're there 5 hours later. That doesn't make for a happy customer. Be prepared, you know, real quickly. If you know that they're going to need some memory, bring it. If you get the call and they say my OS crashed, make sure you bring a CD of 2003 if that's what they're wanting. You know, be prepared. These proactive moves are what absolutely make us shine in the customer's point of view. Anyone out there have a quick story that they did something proactively and you know they won a customer for life?
I think I have a situation where I wasn't completely prepared.
All right, we'll
May
talk
have
about
lost
that too.
showing up on site with incorrect hardware to make a repair. The people within my organization didn't provide me accurate information. So that was a situation that I probably could have used some of your skills to diffuse.
That's never pleasant, you know, that's a situation that wasn't even your fault. But regardless of that, the customer doesn't know that. Stay cool, you know, we need to stay cool. We are the expert. If we're panicking and running around, you know, the customer's not going to have a very warm, fuzzy feeling. Without that warm, fuzzy feeling, they don't want us there. You know, my company used to have the phrase or the logo, technical peace of mind. You know, and that's what I'm selling to the customer. You know, from a technological point of view, I'm there to make sure everything's all right. Moving right along to communication. Communication is absolutely a two-way street. What we're going to talk about a little bit now in much more detail after break is 3 things you should never say to a customer. 3 things that will be sure to get you booted out the door. First thing, let's take this as a complete slide, because if you notice the other handout you have, you're going to have a printout of that slide. And what we're going to do, I'm going to give you about 30 minutes before break, and I would like you to fill that out. And give me alternate ways that you would handle saying something like that. But for now, real briefly, let's go through it. We don't support that product. I mean, it may be very valid. Maybe we don't support that product, but the customer doesn't want to hear that. Does anyone out there have a better way to say something like that? Drew?
I might explain to the customer that I'm not familiar with that product, therefore I don't support it. However, I'm technically inclined to point them in the right direction, and if they give me the vendor's phone number for support, maybe I can help them.
Absolutely. Perfect answer. I mean, act as the point man. Involve yourself, the vendor that does the support, the product, and the customer in a 3-way conversation. Because you know the network. Customer's going to be blind. What's wrong? I don't know. You know, the lights aren't on, but you can help there. So we always support the product at one level or another. So there's nothing I can do for you. That's never true. We're going to go into that very deeply after break. But just let me tell you for now, there's always something you can do. You know, I don't have the time. That's a killer. Anyone out there have some type of communication where you can say I don't have the time in a manner that is not going to get the customer pretty aggravated with you?
Well, first of all, if you're there, you have the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're either getting paid by the hour or you're on contract.
Absolutely.
So if you're on the phone with them, you can always say something like, I'll research it and I'll get right back to you, but you've got to get back to them.
Right.
So you always have the time, even if it takes a half hour, if you're doing phone support, to let them know that you haven't forgotten them.
Absolutely right. If it's critical, we always have the time. If it's not so critical, you know, there are ways to get out of there, which we can go into after break. But Alan is absolutely right. When the situation is critical, we make the time. We have to have the time. He said it when he started his answer. You know, we're there, we have the time. First impressions, last impressions, you know, in my opinion, and it's only my humble opinion, I say last impressions matter more. Now, how many times have we gone from here to go? Maybe not following through. Now, I'll give you a quick story. Now, I was upgrading someone to Office 2003. Now, that's a process that might take 20 minutes, depending on where you're pulling it from. You know, they had this screensaver with these golf balls, like shooting at me every 30 seconds, every minute. First, it was aggravating. Second, it was getting in the way of progress. So I disabled the screensaver. You know, I installed the product, I did what I was supposed to do, open documents in each part of the product, make sure they were in. I left. I go on to the next system, and all of a sudden the customer, something wrong with my computer, there's something wrong with my computer. I go back, what? You know, the screensaver isn't there. To me, ridiculous. To the customer, I've invaded her personal space. You know, that screensaver is like her right arm. You know, so I need to make sure I followed through, and I need to make sure that I take this off a technical level as much as I can. You know, we're supporting more than the technology. We always have to remember that. Now, handling the hot customer, I think the best way to do this is we're going to do a quick role play, where it is, I'm going to play the hot customer, which is a refreshing change for me. Usually I'm on the other end of this. Anyone want to volunteer to play the poor beaten up system engineer? All right, sure. Let me stage this very quickly. You just replaced a video card for the customer. You know, they weren't, actually, let's make it even simpler. We just replaced a monitor for the customer. They had an old CRT and they were looking for a flat screen. You were in and out of there in 5 minutes. You rebooted, make sure the right drives were there. Everything was great. You know, you move on to the next customer. All of a sudden, the customer says, "Come on back into my office." We'll start here, Drew. What happened to that Excel spreadsheet? It was on my C drive. It's gone. What did you do with it?
Not so sure. I need to do a little bit of research to gather the information.
All right, but I've been working on that thing for 3 weeks. I need to present that time. What did you do with it? Did you delete it?
I don't believe I deleted it. You know, just give me a few minutes and I'll check.
All right. And there we go. You know, Drew kept his cool, which is critical, and he deferred the customer till he could find an answer. Stay calm. It's not personal. Listen, listen, listen. You know, Drew listened to me, and by doing so, he was able to respond and react. He didn't say, "What do you mean I didn't delete that? What are you, crazy?" You know, he basically deferred the resolution, which you have to do sometime. If possible, make it right. He was going to find out what happened to that and probably go to the recycle bin, get it back. If they had previous version software installed, get it back that way, or restore it. He was going to resolve the situation. Compensate the customer somehow. In this case, that doesn't pertain. But if it was your fault, we need to make it right somehow. Gain their trust of yours forever. We basically talked about that. There is a formula for trust. Tried and true. Direct, honesty, being fair, being consistent, people trust. And you have to be more than consistent. You have to be consistently right. You know, you have to do the right action consistently. The bonus. This is what everyone's been waiting for, I'm sure. You're in a hot situation and the customer's irate. can't stop them, this is what you do. What do you want? It's gonna stop them in their tracks, it's gonna get them to think exactly what they want. You know, and it's gonna buy you some time to think, and it's gonna buy them some time to count on it. It's worked every single time for me in different ways. And that's pretty much it. What we've talked about here is on the screen. You know, we are the expert. We're out there to resolve the problem. Communication, a two-way street. Communication is critical. Create a positive last impression, you know. We always hear out there, you know, it's what we did last that they remember. Very true. Handling the hot customer, Drew's interaction surely showed us how to do that. Gaining their trust of yours forever, I can guarantee that. You'll never lose the customer if they trust you. And of course, that bonus. I tell you what, we're going to have a 20-minute break, and I'll see you back here.